Hello, fabulous teacher. Justin Slocum Bailey here from TeachHuman, where we believe that teaching and learning well shouldn't cost anyone their health or their identity. Today I'm sharing 3 ways to work less as a teacher so that you can live more. That can be really hard to do, right? As teachers, often by nature, we're inclined to go the extra mile for our students or even for our colleagues. And of course, society sends us the message that we should always be doing more, that we should be sacrificing for our students, that because teaching is such a noble profession, we should always be giving and giving and giving more. But we know we can't live like that. If you didn't learn that a long time ago, you probably learned that recently. So how can we work less, reclaim our time, and still fully serve our students? Well, there are lots of ways. Here I'm going to share the 3 that involve the absolute least amount of work. Number 1 is do that thing you used to do. A simple way not just to do less work, but to actually refresh your classes, inject some new energy in your classes, is to bring back something you used to do, an activity, a task, an assignment, but for some reason stopped doing. Now, in some cases, you stop doing the thing because it truly wasn't working, or it was unjust, or in some other way actually bad and you had to stop. But I'm always amazed when I look back at the things that I used to do as a teacher, activities maybe that students used to like and actually found helpful, that at some point along the way I just stopped doing, and not necessarily because it wasn't working, but just because I was trying to get good at a new thing, or I'd been to a conference or read a blog post and wanted to try a new thing, and somehow that old thing fell by the wayside. So search your archives, ask your students. I've polled my students, hey, what's a thing that we used to do or an assignment we used to do that you actually found pretty helpful that for some reason we haven't done in a while? And students will give me useful answers of things I can actually bring back. Now, sometimes even one of those things that you stopped doing because it wasn't working might actually work now, because the skills, the experience, the touch as a teacher that you may have gained in the meantime might make that thing that wasn't working previously actually work now. In other words, it might be that the problem wasn't with the thing that you planned, the activity, the assignment, the resource to use. It was that you weren't at a place as a teacher where you could actually pull that thing off successfully, and the growth that you've achieved in the meantime can actually make that work. Even if you can't use it or don't feel comfortable using it exactly as is, you may be able to just take it and tweak one thing that makes it work, which is a lot easier than planning a whole new thing, which is a lot of work. So what's an assignment, activity, a resource that you used to do, haven't done in a while, but could bring back so that you have to do less work planning? The next way to do less work is don't do other people's work. Not doing other people's work is a matter of both respect for them and self-respect, but it's amazing how often we find ourselves doing work that shouldn't really be ours to do, whether it should be our colleagues or admins, or whether it should be students. Now, there are all kinds of reasons why you might find yourself doing other people's work. Maybe you haven't realized that it actually isn't your work and should be someone else's. Maybe other people act like it's your work. They're treating you as though that's something you should do. Maybe you do know that it's actually someone else's work, but you don't trust them to complete the work well. These are all understandable reasons, but they all make us do more work that we shouldn't have to do. So let's get away from those things. As I mentioned, sometimes we as teachers find ourselves doing work that actually students should be doing or even just could be doing. So let's put those things back on students' plates, not to overload them, but just to take the load off ourselves a little bit. So whether that's through classroom jobs, like assigning a student to clean the board or to collect stuff or pass stuff out or keep track of time, whatever it may be, let's have students do that. In other cases, we're actually doing subject related or content related thinking for students that actually they could be asked to do. We're figuring out problems related to the actual subject or the actual things that we're teaching that we could have students do. So think through not just things that other people that you work with should be doing, but things that your students could be doing. Both of those can help you work less. Again, this is a matter of respect. Respect for ourselves and the things that are important to us. Respect for the things we're actually responsible for and can't devote as much time and attention to if we're doing things that we're not even responsible for. And respect for others and their ability to get done the things that they are responsible for. So you might do an inventory of all the things you find yourself doing and figure out which of those things do you actually need to do and which of those things should other people be doing. You might, by the way, in the process, figure out some things that really nobody needs to be doing. They can just be checked completely off your list and like the world's list of things that need to be done. Now, if in that process you discover that you're doing something that actually someone else should be doing, a colleague or a supervisor, it might call for a tricky conversation, a delicate email, but those kinds of conversations are crucial because it can lead to greater respect, a greater teamwork, and work done better in the long run. On a deeper level, I really encourage you to take a close look at that inventory of things you find yourself doing, specifically the ones that are actually a colleague's or a supervisor's job to do, and ask yourself, why do I think I need to do that? Or why do I end up doing that? What does that suggest about me and my concerns, my insecurities, my ambitions, or the nature of my workplace? That might not lead to an immediate and obvious conclusion, but that kind of self-reflection in the long run can lead to our working less and helping establish a healthier work environment. Ultimately, if you can find even one thing that you've been doing that you can take off your plate like that, it will help you work less and live more. Now, before we go on to number 3, if you've been doing other people's work and you want to be free of that, just put in the comments, I want to stop doing other people's work, and we'll give you some encouragement. Okay, the third way to work less as a teacher might blow your mind. It's this: just don't. Just don't. When you're tempted to work that extra half hour, when you're tempted to create that extra graphic for your students, whatever it may be, just don't. Just stop. Practice calling it a day a little bit earlier than you otherwise might. Practice not making that last pass over a slideshow or a document that you've created, trying to make it even more perfect. The returns on that kind of extra little bit of work are so small compared to the goodness that you could be getting in your life from just stopping working and going and doing something else. No matter what, that extra thing you're working on, or maybe even the entire thing you're working on, just isn't as important as your overall life. It's not as important as your family and your friends. It's not as important as your health. So just stop. Practice stopping. So there you have 3 clear ways to work less as a teacher. Just a quick recap. Number 1, do that thing you used to do. Number 2, don't do other people's work. And number 3, just don't. As you practice those 3 things, you'll develop a clearer and clearer sense of what you actually need to do and when you can just stop. And that will be good for everyone. It'll be good for you. It'll be good for your health. It'll be good for the people around you. And it'll be good for your students too, because they need a healthy, together, energetic, joyful you more than they need to get their assignment back super fast, more than they need that prettier version of the test or the handout or whatever it may be. So I wish you clarity and wisdom and joy and success as you work less and live more. To help you do all that without having to use a bunch of brain power to think back to this video and all the points, we've actually made a handy visual version that you can download with a lot of the tips and the sub pointers that I've shared. I'll put the link to that in the video description below. And of course, if you found this video helpful and want there to be more like it, be sure to subscribe, hit that bell, like the video, comment below, and share with your colleagues and friends. I'll see you next time.